The dying star loomed in the abyss of space, its crimson glow pulsating like the last breaths of a fading giant. For years, humanity's telescopes had watched its collapse, documenting its decline from fiery brilliance to quiet entropy. But only recently had it begun to whisper secrets, radio waves cascading from its depths in an intricate, repeating pattern. What made it extraordinary wasn't just its complexity, but the unmistakable structure of the signals. They contained star maps and equations far beyond human understanding. Dr. Lena Haverford stood at the observation deck of the Ardent Dawn, humanity's most advanced exploratory vessel. Her gaze was fixed on a holographic projection of the star, its collapsing mass swirling into a gravity well. Beside her, the decoded signal flickered, a lattice of lines and nodes that stretched across the galaxy like veins of light. "We've spent centuries looking outward," Lena said, her voice tinged with awe. "But this is an invitation. Someone, or something, built this network. They wanted us to find it." "Or they wanted to lure us in," replied Captain Darius Kane, standing a few paces behind her. His broad shoulders and scarred face gave him the air of a man who had seen too much of the universe's darker side. "Not every invitation is meant to be accepted, Doctor." Lena turned, her frustration evident. "We've been given a chance to touch something greater than ourselves, Captain. Something that could unite us, inspire us, or destroy us," Kane interrupted, crossing his arms. "You think I haven't seen what happens when we go chasing after unknowns? How many colonies were lost because someone believed in destiny instead of caution?" Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Commander Rios, the mission's operations chief. "We've finished analyzing the signal," she announced. "It's consistent with what we've seen from precursor ruins, but there's a catch. To activate the first gateway, we'll need to send a team into the star's gravitational boundary. It's a one-shot deal. If we fail, the star's collapse will consume the signal, and us with it." The room fell silent. Lena's heart raced. This was their moment, the first step on a path that could redefine humanity's place in the universe. But Kane's scowl deepened. "Let me guess," he said grimly. "You already volunteered us." Lena met his glare with determination. "If we don't take this risk, we might never get another chance." Later, as the shuttle descended into the dying star's gravity well, Lena felt a mix of fear and exhilaration. The gateway shimmered ahead, a massive dormant ring of alien metal orbiting the star. As her team activated the devices found in the signal's instructions, the structure came alive, its inner surface blazing with light. When the gateway finally opened, the space beyond was unlike anything they'd seen, a corridor of energy threading between stars. The celestial path had awakened, and humanity's journey had begun. Kane's voice crackled over the comms, his tone begrudging but resolute. "You got what you wanted, Doctor. Let's hope we survive it." The energy corridor, pulsating with shifting hues of blue and gold, stretched endlessly into the void. It was both beautiful and unnerving, its shimmering surface rippling like a living thing. The Ardent Dawn entered cautiously, its shields humming under the pressure of the path's strange energies. Crew members lined the observation deck, gazing out in awe at the phenomenon surrounding them. Dr. Lena Haverford stood at the helm beside Captain Darius Kane, her fingers tapping on a tablet as she recorded readings. "This energy signature is unlike anything we've encountered before," she murmured. "It's almost organic." "Organic or not, let's hope it doesn't eat ships for breakfast," Kane replied, his sharp gaze fixed on the screen in front of him. "Status report, Commander Rios." "Shields holding steady," Rios said from the operations console. "But we're seeing some interference with long-range sensors. It's like the path is jamming us." Lena frowned. "The signal wasn't jamming us before. Maybe it's reactive, or it's testing us." "Testing us?" Kane raised an eyebrow. "You think this thing is alive?" "I don't know," Lena admitted. But if it is, we might need to understand its purpose before we can proceed safely. As the ship ventured deeper into the corridor, the crew began to notice anomalies. Navigation readings fluctuated wildly, and moments of eerie silence disrupted the usual hum of the ship. At one point, a sudden burst of light from the corridor blinded the observation windows, leaving the crew temporarily disoriented. Then they reached the first node, a massive, floating structure suspended in the path like a glowing beacon. The node resembled an intricate latticework of alien metal, its surface inscribed with flowing, fractal-like patterns. As the ardent dawn approached, the structure emitted a pulse of energy that rippled through the corridor. "Brace for impact," Kane shouted as the pulse hit the ship, sending a jolt through its systems. Lights flickered, and the engines roared in protest. "It's scanning us," Lena said, gripping the console for balance. "This is another test, some kind of verification process." "Great," Kane muttered. "Let's hope it likes what it sees." Moments later, the node began to shift and reconfigure itself. Panels slid apart to reveal an opening, large enough for the ardent dawn to pass through. "We're being invited in," Rhea said, her voice tinged with both excitement and unease. "Invited? More like summoned," Kane said. He glanced at Lena. "You still think this is humanity's big break?" "We won't know until we step through," Lena replied, her determination unwavering. "But whatever's on the other side, it's worth the risk." As the ship entered the node, the crew was enveloped in a blinding light. When the glare faded, they found themselves in an alien star system, surrounded by strange, swirling nebulae and distant structures resembling enormous ancient machines. Lena's voice was barely a whisper. "The path has taken us somewhere extraordinary. The real journey starts here." The alien star system was a realm of wonder and unease. Bright, swirling nebulae painted the darkness with kaleidoscopic colors, and colossal machines floated in silence, their purposes as inscrutable as their creators. The crew of the Ardent Dawn marveled at the sight, but awe soon gave way to urgency when their sensors picked up a new signal. Dr. Lena Haverford studied the readings with growing excitement. "The signal's originating from another node further along the path," she announced. "It's almost like it's leading us onward." "And how do we know it's not leading us into a trap?" Captain Darius Kane asked, his tone sharp. "This place already feels like a maze designed to mess with our heads." The ship's navigation systems struggled to keep up as the Ardent Dawn maneuvered through the unfamiliar system. The alien machines radiated faint energy fields that disrupted instruments, forcing the crew to rely on visual piloting and rudimentary sensors. As they approached the second node, it became clear that this journey wasn't merely a test of technology, but of will and ingenuity. The node was surrounded by a shifting labyrinth of energy barriers and gravitational distortions. Massive tendrils of light coiled around it like serpents, lashing out unpredictably. Lena's analysis revealed that the tendrils were both a defense mechanism and a puzzle. The crew would need to decode their patterns to find a safe path through. "This isn't just a navigation problem," Lena said, studying the patterns intently. "The tendrils respond to specific energy signatures. We need to create a sequence that resonates with them." Kane frowned. "And if we get the sequence wrong?" "The distortions will destabilize and—" Lena hesitated. "Well, the ship would be torn apart." "Wonderful," Kane muttered. "All right, people, you heard the doctor. Let's figure this out before we're reduced to space debris." As the team worked, the ship was buffeted by waves of gravitational force. Every failed attempt sent shockwaves through the hull, rattling the crew and straining the ship's systems. Tensions ran high as arguments broke out among the officers. Kane quickly intervened, his commanding voice cutting through the chaos. "Focus up," he barked. "We're not going to die out here because we can't keep our heads straight." With Kane maintaining order, Lena and her team finally deciphered the correct energy sequence. As they activated the ship's emitters, the tendrils of light responded, parting to reveal a clear path. The crew cheered as the Ardent Dawn navigated through the barriers and docked with the second node. Inside, they found a cavernous chamber filled with intricate alien carvings and a central console pulsing with light. When Lena activated the console, the room came alive with holographic projections, star maps, symbols, and fragments of ancient text. "This is a repository of knowledge," Lena said, her voice trembling with awe. "They're teaching us or testing us." But before they could delve deeper, the node shuddered violently. The holograms dissolved, replaced by a new challenge. The path's defenses had awakened, and a swarm of energy constructs was descending upon the ship. "Looks like the test isn't over," King growled, gripping his weapon. "Brace yourselves, things are about to get ugly." The Ardent Dawn rocked violently as the energy constructs swarmed around it, glowing tendrils of light lashing at the ship's shields. Alarms blared across the vessel as the crew scrambled to respond. Captain Darius Kane stood firm on the bridge, barking orders. "Rios, divert all power to the shields." "Weapons team, keep those things at bay," Kane shouted. The ship's defense systems erupted in flashes of plasma and laser fire, illuminating the dark expanse of space. Dr. Lena Haverford clung to a console, her mind racing to interpret the holographic data they had just retrieved from the node. "These constructs aren't random," she said, her voice strained. "They're acting like guardians. We must have triggered them when we accessed the repository." "Well, congratulations, Doctor," Kane snapped. "You found the library, and now the librarians are trying to kill us." The crew managed to repel the initial wave of constructs, but the victory was short-lived. A second, larger swarm emerged from the depths of the node, converging on the ship. "They're adapting," Rios warned. "If we don't get out of here, they'll overwhelm us." "Not until we figure out what this node wants from us," Lena insisted. "We've come too far to leave empty-handed." Kane glared at her but didn't argue. "Fine, you've got 5 minutes. After that, we're pulling out, with or without your precious data." As Lena worked furiously to decode the remaining symbols, a new threat emerged, not from outside, but within the fleet. Commander Lorne, leader of a rival faction on board, had been waiting for his opportunity to act. Lorne believed the path was not a gift for humanity's enlightenment, but a weapon to be seized and controlled. In the chaos of the attack, Lorne and his followers sabotaged the ship's secondary systems, forcing the Ardent Dawn to temporarily lose power in critical areas. Lorne's voice crackled over the intercom. "This is Commander Lorne. The path's power belongs to humanity, not to idealists like Haverford or cautious cowards like Kane. We're taking control of this mission to ensure its potential isn't wasted." The bridge descended into chaos as systems flickered and communication lines went dark. Kane slammed his fist against a console. "That idiot's going to get us all killed." "Lorne has control of the auxiliary power systems," Rios reported, her hands flying over her terminal. "If he cuts off life support or weapons, we're sitting ducks." Kane turned to Lena. "Can you finish this, or do I need to go put that traitor in his place?" "Go," Lena said, her jaw set. "I'll handle the node." With that, Kane grabbed his weapon and stormed out, assembling a small team to confront Lorne. What followed was a tense game of cat and mouse in the dimly lit corridors of the ship. Lorne's followers were well armed, but Kane's tactical experience proved invaluable as he systematically dismantled their control and subdued the mutineers. Meanwhile, Lena's efforts bore fruit. She managed to transmit the correct energy sequence to the node, calming the swarm of constructs and unlocking a deeper layer of the repository. A new map appeared, marking the next destination on the path, a place ominously labeled in alien script as the Abyssal Gate. As Kane returned to the bridge, bloodied but victorious, Lena looked up at him. "We've won this round," she said, "but the path is only getting harder." Then we'd better make sure no one else tries to tear us apart from the inside, Kane replied grimly. With Lorne and his faction subdued and the swarm of constructs dissipated, the Ardent Dawn set its course for the next waypoint. But the crew knew that betrayal and danger were now constant companions on their journey through the stars. The Ardent Dawn drifted through the path, its crew battered but resolute. The betrayal by Lorne's faction had left scars, both physical and emotional, but the mission pressed on. Ahead lay the next waypoint, an enormous, otherworldly structure hovering in the darkness. Its silhouette was jagged and immense, its surface shimmering faintly as though covered in liquid starlight. Dr. Lena Haverford stood on the observation deck, her thoughts heavy. The alien script from the repository replayed in her mind, the abyssal gate. It sounded foreboding, yet she couldn't ignore the pull of curiosity. Captain Darius Kane joined her, his presence grounding. "What do you make of it?" he asked, nodding toward the structure. "It's unlike anything we've seen," Lena admitted. "The scale, the energy signatures, it's ancient and incredibly advanced. This might be the core of the celestial network, or a dead end." Kane folded his arms. Dead ends don't usually come with warnings like abyssal. The crew prepared for their approach, tension crackling through the ship. As the Ardent Dawn drew closer, the ship's systems began acting erratically. Lights flickered, gravity fluctuated, and strange auditory distortions echoed through the corridors. Crew members reported hearing whispers, faint and indistinct, as if voices from the past were brushing against their minds. "I swear I heard my father's voice," muttered one crew member in the mess hall. Others claimed to see fleeting shadows at the edges of their vision. Lena recorded the phenomena, her scientific mind racing to find an explanation. "These aren't random hallucinations," she said during a briefing. "The structure is emitting waves that interact with our neural patterns. It's pulling from our memories, our subconscious fears and desires." "So it's in our heads," Kane said, his tone sharp. "Can it do more than that? Control us?" "Not yet," Lena said, "but we should proceed carefully." The team launched a shuttle to explore the gate, leaving the main ship on standby. As they entered the structure, the whispers grew louder, coalescing into fragmented phrases in both alien and human languages. The interior of the gate was a vast, cathedral-like space, its walls lined with glowing glyphs that pulsed in time with the whispers. Lena activated her equipment, scanning the glyphs. "This is a repository of memories," she whispered. "The Celestials, they stored echoes of themselves here. It's a record of their existence, their rise, their fall." Suddenly, a deep, resonant voice boomed through the chamber, silencing the whispers. "Pilgrims of the stars, why have you come?" The team froze as an immense holographic figure materialized before them, its form indistinct and shifting like a living nebula. "We seek understanding," Lena said, stepping forward. "We seek the knowledge left by those who came before us." The figure's glowing eyes fixed on her. "The path tests all who walk it. Will you face the truth of your kind, or will you falter and be undone?" Before Lena could respond, the hologram dissolved, and the chamber began to shift. Walls folded inward, and new paths appeared, each lined with blinding light. Kane drew his weapon instinctively. "Looks like we just triggered the next test. Stay sharp." As the team ventured deeper into the abyssal gate, the whispers turned into vivid visions, glimpses of human history and the darkest moments of their own lives. The path was no longer just a journey, it had become a mirror, and what it revealed threatened to tear the team apart. The deeper the team ventured into the abyssal gate, the more the structure came alive. Pulsing lights cascaded along the walls like rivers of molten stars, casting eerie shadows that danced with malicious intent. The whispers had become sharp and personal, each crew member hearing their own name spoken in the voices of lost loved ones or enemies long dead. Dr. Lena Haverford fought to keep her focus as her mind was assaulted with memories of her childhood. She saw her younger self, clutching her father's hand, gazing at the stars through a telescope. His voice echoed, full of warmth, but tinged with regret. "You'll go farther than I ever could, Lena. But the stars don't always shine for us." "Not real," she muttered, shaking her head. "None of this is real." But for others, the illusions were harder to dismiss. Ensign Marlowe froze mid-step, his face pale as he stared at an empty space. "She's here," he whispered. "My sister. She's alive." He broke into a run toward the glowing walls, only for Captain Darius Kane to grab him and pull him back. "Get a grip," Kane barked. "These are just tricks. The gate is messing with your head." Marlowe struggled, tears streaming down his face. "You don't understand. She was calling me." Kane's grip tightened. "She's not here, Marlowe. Stay focused, or you'll get us all killed." The team pressed on, their resolve shaken. The corridors shifted endlessly, leading them to a massive chamber at the heart of the gate. A pedestal stood at its center, glowing with a blinding light. Around it, the walls displayed shifting holograms. Alien cities crumbling, stars exploding, and fleets of ships engaging in battles across galaxies. "This is a warning," Lena said, her voice trembling. "The Celestials, they foresaw destruction. Their civilization collapsed because of someone they couldn't stop." As she stepped closer to the pedestal, the holograms coalesced into a single image, a dark figure wreathed in shadow, its presence radiating power and malice. "You are not ready," a voice thundered, shaking the chamber. The hologram flickered, revealing the figure more clearly, a humanoid shape with burning eyes, standing amidst a sea of stars consumed by darkness. "Turn back now, or the path will claim you as it claimed us." Kane raised his weapon, his instincts screaming that the figure was a threat. "What the hell is that?" "A memory," Lena whispered, awestruck. "A warning. This is what the Celestials feared." Suddenly, the pedestal erupted with light, and a surge of energy coursed through the chamber. The team collapsed to the floor, clutching their heads as visions overwhelmed them. They saw fragments of the Celestials' history, their rise as masters of the galaxy, their discovery of the path, and their eventual downfall at the hands of an unstoppable force, a force that now lay dormant but not defeated. When the light subsided, the pedestal dimmed, revealing a small, glowing artifact hovering above it. Lena reached for it, her fingers trembling. "This is it," she said. "The key to the next node." Kane's voice was harsh as he pulled her to her feet. "Then let's grab it and get the hell out of here. Whatever killed them might not stay dormant for long." As the team raced back to the ardent dawn, the abyssal gate began to collapse, its walls folding inward as if the structure itself was rejecting them. The whispers turned into a roar, and the visions grew more chaotic. They barely escaped, the gate's final pulse rocking the ship as it disintegrated behind them. On the bridge, Lena examined the artifact, its glow pulsating faintly. "This key isn't just a map," she said, her voice heavy with realization. "It's a message. The path didn't just lead us here, it's preparing us for something far worse." Kane exhaled sharply, staring at the shrinking gate on the view screen. "Then we'd better be ready when it comes." The ardent dawn raced away from the collapsing abyssal gate, the artifact secured in Lena Haverford's laboratory. The crew was battered, their minds raw from the gate's illusions, but they knew their ordeal was far from over. The artifact hummed faintly, its glow casting strange, shifting shadows across the walls. It was both a prize and a burden, a piece of a puzzle humanity was only beginning to understand. Captain Darius Kane called a ship-wide meeting in the main briefing room. The senior crew and key personnel gathered, their faces grim but determined. Kane stood at the head of the table, his voice steady despite the tension in the room. "We've come farther than anyone thought possible," he began. "We faced betrayal, alien constructs, and whatever the hell that was back at the gate. But the path isn't done with us yet." Dr. Haverford stepped forward, holding up a holographic display linked to the artifact. It projected an intricate map of the stars, with a glowing waypoint marking their next destination. "This is the final node," she said. The artifact indicates that it holds the last piece of the Celestials' knowledge, what they called the Revelation. "Sounds ominous," muttered Commander Rios. "What are the chances it's another death trap?" "High," Lena admitted. "But if we're right, the Revelation isn't just information. It's a blueprint, a way to harness the path's power, to understand its true purpose." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. If the path held the key to unlocking humanity's potential or its doom, then turning back wasn't an option. As the ship approached the final node, tension ran high. Unlike the previous waypoints, this one was a sprawling, planet-sized construct. Its surface was a patchwork of glowing veins and massive cyclopean spires that pierced the darkness. The structure's energy field was so intense it distorted the ship's sensors, leaving them nearly blind. "We'll have to go in blind," Kane said, his jaw set. "Prepare for anything." The ship descended toward the node, buffeted by waves of gravitational force and electromagnetic interference. As they neared the surface, an automated defense system activated. Streams of energy shot out from the spires, forcing the crew to engage in evasive maneuvers while returning fire. "Shields at 40%. Rios called out, her hands flying across the console. "We can't take much more of this." "We don't need to," Kane replied. "Get us close enough to land. Once we're on the surface, we'll disable the defenses from inside." The Ardent Dawn managed a hard landing on a flat expanse of the construct, its hull smoking but intact. Kane led a team out into the alien environment, their suits shielding them from the node's intense energy fields. The terrain was otherworldly, with crystalline structures and shifting patterns of light underfoot. At the node's core, they found a massive gateway etched with symbols similar to those of the Abyssal Gate. As Lena examined it, the artifact in her possession began to resonate, its glow intensifying. "This is it," she said, inserting the artifact into a receptacle at the gateway's base. The structure groaned, and the gateway began to open, revealing a swirling vortex of light and shadow. Before they could step through, the ground trembled, and a new threat emerged. Massive constructs, larger and more advanced than anything they'd seen before, rose from the terrain. Their glowing eyes locked onto the team, and their weapons powered up. Kane raised his weapon. "Looks like the final test just arrived. Hold the line." The crew prepared for a desperate battle, knowing that survival wasn't enough. If they failed here, the truth of the path and humanity's future would be lost forever. The battlefield surrounding the node's gateway erupted into chaos. Massive, armored constructs loomed over the crew, their glowing eyes piercing the darkness. They advanced with deliberate, relentless precision, their weapons crackling with energy. It was clear this was the final trial, and the path would not let them pass without a fight. Captain Darius Kane stood at the front of the team, his weapon raised, eyes scanning for weak points. Beside him, Dr. Lena Haverford gripped the artifact tightly, its light still flickering as the constructs advanced. The rest of the crew formed a defensive perimeter, their focus unwavering. "Rios, take the left flank. Marlowe, stay on the right," Kane barked. "We need to buy enough time for Lena to activate the gateway." The constructs charged, their weapons firing beams of searing energy. The crew responded in kind, returning fire with the Ardent Dawn's own armaments. Plasma bursts illuminated the dark landscape, sending shockwaves through the air. Marlowe took down one of the constructs, his rifle cutting through its armor with precision. But there were too many, and the enemy was adapting. Lena pushed forward, her mind focused solely on the gateway. The artifact hummed in her hands, the resonance growing louder as she inserted it into a slot at the center of the gateway's base. The symbols around the portal began to shift, forming new patterns, an ancient code slowly unraveling. "Lena, hurry!" Kane's voice cracked over the comms as another construct closed in. Lena didn't respond, her hands shaking as she manipulated the interface. The gateway responded to her touch, glowing brighter with every moment. The constructs, sensing the change, began to swarm, intensifying their assault. The ground beneath the team's feet trembled as the first of the larger constructs launched a devastating attack, its weapon firing a beam of raw energy toward the team's position. Rio's was knocked back by the blast, her shield failing as she collapsed to the ground. Kane's heart raced. He shot down two of the approaching constructs, then sprinted to Rios' side, pulling her to safety behind a jagged piece of debris. "You okay?" Rios coughed, her suit's med system wearing to life. "I'm good for now, but we don't have much time." The team was running low on ammunition, and the constructs kept coming. One by one, the crew members fought to hold their ground, but fatigue and the overwhelming numbers of their enemies began to take its toll. Lena's voice broke through the chaos. "It's working, almost there." The gateway was nearly fully activated, but the constructs, sensing the endgame, launched their final offensive. They charged forward, their weapons primed for the kill. "Get down," Kane shouted, pushing Lena out of the way as a massive blast from one of the constructs erupted. The force threw him to the ground, and for a moment, everything went dark. But Lena's voice pulled him back. Darius, look." He blinked and looked up. The gateway was fully open now, swirling with a vortex of light, and standing in its center was the figure of a celestial, its form shimmering like a living nebula. "You have passed the test," the figure intoned, its voice resonating deep within the minds of the crew. "The revelation awaits, but the path is not for all. You must choose. Will you seize the power of the path, or will you protect it and let it remain a legacy for those who come after you?" Kane struggled to his feet, his mind spinning. "What are you asking us? What is this power?" "The path is not merely a route to knowledge, it is a force. The Celestials built it to transcend death itself, but in doing so, they lost their humanity. If you choose to harness it, you will rule the stars, but you will be changed forever. If you protect it, you will preserve the legacy of those who came before, but you will be forever bound by the memory of their fall." The decision loomed over them: power, immortality, or sacrifice. Lena stepped forward, her voice steady. "We are not gods. We are human, and we will decide what humanity becomes." As the constructs reached the team, the gateway flared to life, releasing an immense burst of energy that consumed the enemy in a wash of light. The team stood at the edge of the threshold, facing a future of unimaginable possibilities. They had passed the test, but at what cost? With one final, resolute step, the crew entered the portal, their journey now a part of something far greater than any of them could have imagined. And the path, its true purpose, its ultimate revelation, was only beginning.